Welcome to another episode of the Seven Figure Journey podcast. I'm your host for this episode. My name is Brett Gilliland. I'm here with Art Bejarano. Art is the founder and president, co-founder and president of Integrity Engineering, which is an engineering and design services firm. They've been around a long time. They've seen a lot of ups and downs. And I'm excited to have Art here on the show with us today to share some of his real lessons learned and some real challenges that he's dealing with. Welcome to the show, Art. Glad to have you here.
Brett, thank you so much. I really appreciate the invite and really look forward to doing this with you and sharing whatever I can that helps out other businesses and also to get help.
Wonderful. Well, let's start with getting a little bit of context. I'd love to hear quickly about Integrity EDS. I want all of our listeners to understand what Integrity Engineering does, who they focus on, and then we can transition into our sharing.
Perfect. Well, we started at Integrity Engineering and Design Solutions back in 2002. And we began to grow as a circuit board layout design company, but decided we wanted to add additional services such as systems, electrical, mechanical types of engineering to our customers. Our customer bases are we've done work in the medical field, medical instrumentation, aerospace, working on the Orion crew vehicle, along with Virginia class submarines. A number of different types of projects that are both commercial and government.
All right, very good. And you've been at this for the past 20 plus years, you told me before we started. And
Yes.
you've grown and you've declined and grown into, like, you've been through the whole gamut of small business life, we'll call it. And you've learned a lot of things along the way. So what I'd love to have you share is in those years that you were really growing and the complexity of your business and the team was growing in size, you had to learn some things. You weren't just an engineer doing engineering work. You are now a business builder. You're a leader. You're trying to help a team come together and align around common objectives. And there's all those more complicated leader things that have to come along as you grow. I'd love for you to share a key lesson or two that you earned as you grew through some of those stages early on.
Well, I have to say it's been a learning process that has never really stopped. Some of the key elements that I've have picked up on was number one, don't do your own books. I found out my accountant was very happy when I hired actually my wife to go ahead and start doing my accounting for me. He was elated and so happy about it because I just was not good at that. And it was actually a very powerful decision for me, and he was able to support me in many, many ways. But one of the biggest things, the challenges that we had was uh, when the whole economic recession happened in 2008, and we were down to about 4 employees, and I began to start collaborating with a lot of our competitors, and I was with our competitors as well as allies, in the industry. One of the things was, as these opportunities began to arise, the toughest part was, what am I going to do to be able to increase my staff on an as need basis without overloading my overhead to such a point that it makes it impossible to really earn a good profitability. And so I developed a process called Flex Interface Project Fulfillment, to where I bring on, whether it's 1099 subcontractors or W-2 contingent workers, that allows me the opportunity to bring in the staff that I need for as long as I need them during that project or program. And by being able to do that, that allows me the flexibility to not have to be carrying a lot of overhead and plan for that overhead, and help for me to be able to keep my prices very competitive. So that I'd say that growth is such a huge factor that you could either hurt yourself trying to grow and overhire, or you don't have all the resources that you need. And so I developed a way to be able to do that and accommodate the project so that we can be able to finish it on time or at least ahead of schedule.
That's really cool, Art. So innovation helped you to learn how to manage those projects better, and opened up a bunch of opportunity for you. Let's talk about what it looked like when um, you were the recession forced you to contract your business, and you only had a handful of people at that point, and you're trying to fight back to where you had been, which was much higher. How did you keep the team in a good place? How did you keep yourself in a good place?
Well, there were definitely a number of different factors. One that I would say that the largest part is communication. Communication with my employees, communication with our customers, being able to be transparent. I could not believe, that I thought by communicating, something like this, it would appear as a weakness, but it didn't. They so much appreciated the transparency, and that I would take, number one, I'd be able to take care of them, and number two, that to let them know that I may have to cut their hours back as we began to start making this transition and start bringing on new business. And that's where my promise or my commitment to them was that they're the first people that are whose times and hours working were going to be increased by being able to do that. And it's amazing knowing how I was able to do that. Now, one of the things that I built into that process and that plan was I created a full time position that's based off of 25 hours a week. So they would not go down below that point. But the moment that they start, that the requirements are there to have them work more hours, I was then able to pay them on an hourly basis and up and beyond the standard 40 hour work week based on a salary. So this way they had the opportunity to be able to make more money, but at the same time, they were guaranteed a base that I could be able to commit to. And that really helped out a lot. And unbelievably, it turned out that I was able to not only retain a lot of the people that I originally had, but I was able to help out actually another company that was struggling with my concept. And with my concept, I actually and eventually incorporated that business into ours that had a lot of engineers and engineering services. I was able to increase it. I went from 5 employees up to actually 22. And we started bringing in a lot more business because now we're creating higher visibility. And I was able to build on that type of platform.
Well, I'm going to go all the way back to where we started. The first thing you said was get out of the bookkeeping, right? Like and in other words, find the things that are holding you back that you're not good at that a lower cost resource could do to free you up to do bigger, better things in the business. So you did that first,
Absolutely.
and all along the way, I keep thinking about this, Art. Your ability to innovate has served you well in integrity engineering and design solutions, right? But it also has served you well in how you've built your business, and the innovation around the pay structure with your team, I think was great. I think the innovation in collaborating or partnering with even competitors to get through difficult times and help grow the overall desirability of your engineering resources, right? Your collective strength now looks bigger and better to the market. You've just done a lot of innovative things to help your business stay relevant even during very difficult times. So those are all amazing lessons that you shared. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Okay, so let's shift gears a little bit. Before we hit record, you shared with me that you have an exciting new project that you're working on, and actually, the issue you want to raise today is relative to having a new project and still having something viable here that you're trying to move forward with integrity engineering and design solutions. So talk, give us a little framing, a little context around this, and then we'll jump into your challenge.
Perfect. Certainly, what I did in the process with this Flex Interface project fulfillment was realizing that I could actually place the right people at the right stage of development in the engineering fields. And what I once I had seen that I was successful, very successful, being able to do that, I what I decided was, well, how can I be able to best complement that process and be able to expedite it and be able to grow it? And that was one of the biggest challenges that I had. And so during a lot of the lockdowns and the pandemic or what have you, that I at that time I decided to go ahead and start working on the development of a mobile app platform to where I'll be able to start creating and building up a membership of a talent community based on engineers, mechanical, software, electrical systems, project managers, all of it. Have them as a pool that's going to be available within this mobile app platform. And so, as businesses have requirements of needing somebody fast now, let's get them going, and they can find the right engineer rather than having to rummage through resumes and stuff like this. I built a platform that actually has meets the base requirements of what that job and that application is requiring, so that the right engineers can be found within 3 to 12 business days. Now this is going to open up so many more doors to creating new clients, as well as be able to create these clients for integrity engineering. So now these two will mesh together and allow us to be able to service a broader range of a client base. That was one of the requirements that was spoken to me about. If you're going to sell your business, you've got to have more than just 2 or 3 primary clients. They want to see diversity. And so my mind said, I think I'll be able to create diversity with this type of platform.
Yeah, yeah, very good. Okay. So there are lots of business owners listening to this who've either had an idea, they're like, man, what if I could create this other thing? It might be related to their current business, but it might not. It might be different altogether. In your case, you're creating something that actually has potential to feed and strengthen integrity EDS, which is awesome. But what is the challenge of the excitement and the energy of pulling you towards the new thing relative to the responsibility and the focus that's still needed at integrity EDS? What's that challenge like for you?
Oh, the challenge has been very. It's been at times quite perplexing because I have quite a number of people that we were in contact with that had either during the 2019 all the way to current, a lot of people decided to retire, move to different jobs, different companies. And so it kind of left me a little bit on the high and dry side of current revenue. Now, we've been able to rebuild our revenue when the whole pandemic part had happened. We've been able to rebuild successfully, but not as fast as I would like to be able to see. And so I'm right now, my biggest challenge is I'm on the verge of getting this platform launched, which will looks like it's going to be in the July timeframe. And I'm looking to also, I've got a book, Fire Yourself. I'm authoring a book, Fire Yourself, a simple way to self-direct your career, to help guide entrepreneur, or whether it's employees or current entrepreneurs, on how to have the right mindset on growing themselves, which in turn could help me grow, because now I'm able to bring in their resources and help them be able to not only find opportunities for them, but also they'll be able to be supportive of the programs and projects that I'm doing. So I'm right in that messy part that is the biggest challenge that I have.
Yeah, yeah, because you need enough. time, attention, resources flowing to integrity, right? It deserves to have enough resource to keep it going. And yet, a new venture, a new focus, a new project, we all know how much energy it requires to get those things off the ground. And so, how do you keep both things in a healthy position when they might both need more of you than you have to give?
Well, one of the biggest things has been to help, or actually to outsource some of the items that I need to have done. As much as it hurts financially,
Mm,
uh, I have to take a look as to what's going to be the most effective way of being able to utilize somebody else helping me versus me trying to do it on my own. And because I've been actually the biggest bottleneck, and I know it, I admit it. I take on way too many things, but I what I've have realized is, yeah, I'm the brainchild about this whole project and program coming together. What I need to do is start having more people help me be able to execute, and that's I think that's the toughest part of changing gears from the doer to the creator,
yeah.
and then making sure that the creation doesn't slow down the doing to keep the business coming in.
Yeah, it's such a fine line, right? This balancing act between keep the cash generation machine of integrity going while you get this other thing off the ground. And of course, there's never enough time for either one of those things, let alone both of them together. So you're using some outsourced resources where you can.
Right.
And what I guess what I'll add to this conversation are what comes to mind for me is the importance of clarity in priorities in both places and their relative importance to one another. So, in other words, if priority one for the new platform is more important than priority one for integrity, then we need to understand that. So that when resources are scarce, we know already ahead of time the new platform, the new project, the new business gets importance over the existing one. Now, if the stability in the cash from the existing business is more important than getting the new one off the ground, then we know that, right? But you just have to understand what's priority number one in each business and their relative importance to one another, and then priority two and priority three. And I would limit it to that. Maybe, in fact, I like to limit things to three total. So maybe it's the top three priorities for both businesses combined, right? The first
Correct.
priority for the new platform, and maybe it's the other two priorities over here for integrity. And that's how they stack up, and that's how they get your management time attention. That's how they get resourced. That's how they get team focus. So, speaking of team focus, are you having to have people split focus? Are you having anybody wear both of those hats, or are you keeping them separate?
No, I have found that the people that I have already designated for the different positions, for example, where I have a controller that also handles the HR, the hiring, and what have you, and making sure that she stays focused with those requirements. Then I do have a manager for my engineering group that actually is taking a lot of responsibility off my shoulders, and where he's in contact with a lot of the customers. He's establishing those priorities with our current customer base, as well as where I on the CodeGen platform, the mobile app platform. I have very specific people being able to do it, because the moment that I realize that I start diversifying their requirements is when things get complicated.
Yeah, they
If
do.
they specialize in one thing, it's like a streamline. They're like getting it done now.
Yeah, yeah, you're totally right. We have a member in our one of our mastermind groups in our elite entrepreneurs community that's two different businesses, and they're completely different. There's like zero interaction at all. But early on, as you might imagine, especially in the early seven figures range, they were sharing resources. So they were sharing IT resources. They were sharing finance accounting type of help. They were sharing even some sales resources, and it got messy as they both grew. Now they're more intertwined, and he finally had to like rip the band-aid off and say, "No, we got to separate these entities." And so the more you can keep people focused in one effort or the other, is probably best. But then let's just acknowledge that you don't have unlimited resources. So sometimes there's a little bit of overlap.
Exactly, and I try to keep it as much to a minimum as or as much as possible, just so that I'm not overly working, overly have over expectations about what they really need to be able to do, and usually, and what we have established is that the people that we had have currently been using for integrity actually have created very efficient processes already that allows them to be able to get what they need done very quickly, and then when they're available they offer their help and then services to some of the other groups so that they can be able to help support them as best as possible without taking on the responsibility.
Yeah. Okay. Very good. Well, just if I can offer another thought or two, and by way of suggestion,
Please.
I would say clarity is key, right? Both businesses need to be super clear on annual priorities, quarterly priorities. Anything that's future enabling needs to be separate from the day to day operations. It might be similar people working on both things, but you got to be clear about, hey, this is future enabling work. This is keep the lights on work, right? This is capability
Correct.
building. This is get and serve clients today, and that distinction is super important. And if you'll use I call it a meeting rhythm, but some sort of structure in the time that you allocate to review the long term and the short term. Weekly would be daily, and weekly would be more on the operational short term day to day, and monthly, quarterly, annual would be more on the longer term strategic progress. If you have meeting rhythm and structure that allows you to touch on both of those things, that will help you get clear and separate those two ideas. So I would imagine there's a lot of short term keep the lights on focus inside of integrity. Not that there's no future enabling work there, but a lot of your future enabling cycles is going towards the new platform, the new project, and that's okay as long as we don't lose sight of how we run integrity today. So that's one thought.
Absolutely.
The other thought I have is to just, I know integrity is going to pull you and other team members into something that already exists, right? It's already there. It has needs now. And so in your own calendars, even not just the meeting rhythm collectively, but individually, how do you carve out enough time to give life to your new project? And that might be, a couple early morning hours every day for you, or maybe it's, half a day on a Friday gets to be creator, like you said before. How do I go into that creator mode? You have to build actual time and space for that into your calendar. Otherwise, the current thing's always going to just suck every available minute that you have.
Absolutely. I that I think I've gone through more calendar apps than I think anybody possibly would even want to even look at, only for the reason that I do have a very fixed schedule for integrity, and the work with Cogen and the book and the coaching on all this is like it's always in flux and in moving. And how can I be able to manage it? So I did happen to find a platform to where all of my Cogen and the mobile app and all that's put together is treated as tasks that I can move around when the integrity doesn't take precedence. So those are fixed. Integrity is fixed meetings, fixed time frames, and the other is are treated as tasks that I could actually begin to fluctuate between what my schedule allows.
Okay. Well,
So
maybe the real value of
it's
this
helped.
episode, Art, is for you to skip all of the consumer review of all the platforms. Why don't you just tell us the one that you went to that you're like, this one's helpful?
Well, it's called Motion, and it's an AI platform. It's an AI cloud platform that just I set up my task and it automatically moves everything where I need it. And I have multiple calendars. I have it for my marketing. I have it for my Cogen. I have it for integrity. I have it for my personal. And I'm like, wow, it accommodates all of those, and I'm able to schedule items in it as a to where the AI will look at my fixed appointments, my fixed schedule for integrity, and move my lead gen and my cogen schedule according to the available time that I have. And boy, has that made a huge difference.
Okay, very cool. Well, I didn't mean to give a commercial demotion, but we just did. Congratulations to the good work
Pardon.
happening over there. Yeah, no, that's amazing. I have one that I use, and she's my assistant. Her name is Callie. So you have motion, I have Callie. She makes all that happen for
I
me.
bet yours is prettier.
Well, maybe not about that, but I would go crazy if I didn't have her making all those changes for me. And sounds like you found a good solution for you. So that's awesome. All right.
Perfect.
Art, this has been super fun. I appreciate you coming on here, sharing those lessons that you learned. Like, get rid of the things that you're not great at with the bookkeeping. Like, get that stuff off. And a lot of us hold on to it for so long. And then you shared some really cool lessons about innovating on how you lead your business in a way that affects and improves your client experience. And then you innovated around collaborating with even competitors, right? Like bring other people together so that as a whole, you're more attractive to the market, you're more relevant to what the market needs. And you've been able to do some
Absolutely.
really cool things that way. So thank you for sharing those lessons. Um, and then I love,
Well,
love that you've brought an issue that many business owners wrestle with or have contemplated taking on. And that's a new project. While the thing that I have is still alive and working, and maybe
viable.
it's viable, right? It's a thing, and you don't want to squash it, but you also see the vision of something bigger with this other platform, and how cool that what the new platform can actually feed and help fuel the existing business. But a lot of business owners are hesitant to make that leap, and I think what we discussed about getting clear on priorities, getting clear on if or how resources will be shared, and especially getting clear on where you will, like how you will organize your time to give enough focus to each one, all super valuable. So thank you for bringing those issues.
Thank you, and I appreciate your info and the information you provided with me on the prioritizing and keeping those minimized. Maybe no more than three high priority elements, because at different times, I mean, looking at the past, I was trying to prioritize everything, and
Right.
it was just overwhelming. And so by being able to organize that, especially trying to marry these two entities together, it's been very perplexing. And I sure appreciate the feedback that you've given me about that, because it makes sense. So I thank you so much on that.
Well, you're welcome, and it's a small token of my appreciation for you coming on the show and sharing your valuable insights with others. Speaking of others and you, if people want to learn more about integrity, engineering, and design solutions, or they want to learn more about what you're creating with Cogen and this really cool platform where all these engineering talented people can come together and be accessible for real-time needs that businesses have to access their skills, like how would they learn more about what you're doing? How would they connect with you?
Well, I can definitely be reached at integrity-eds.com. That's the primary website. We're getting ready to launch it's called Get Cogen, COGEN.com. And that platform should be launched by also the June timeframe. And that'll probably be the best two ways. Now, I am also setting up my own personal branding website, artbejarano.com, that is also talking about how, that addresses any way that we can be able to create better, higher quality connections with our customers, with our teams and stuff like that. I'm addressing that on my personal website as well.
Well, I know we're far enough out in publishing these episodes that by the time people are listening to this, getcogen.com should be launched.
Yes.
'Cause
Good.
so go check it out, getcogen.com. Check out Integrity EDS, integrity-eds.com.
Yes.
Find Art and his team and what they're up to. It's really cool stuff. And please, please, please keep listening to these episodes and share them, review, subscribe, do all those things to help them get in front of as many seven-figure business owners as possible. We want to help them all get access to these awesome episodes with real business owners doing real stuff and sharing their real insights. Thanks again for listening. We'll see you next time on another episode of the Seven Figure Journey Podcast.